What is up, everybody? It is about that time again, and guess what? It is time to analyze Professor Hulk. Now, let me get something off your plate right quick. Everybody knows about Professor Hulk in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, aka the Avenger live action movies like Avengers Endgame, and a lot of people that are not familiar with Professor Hulk are not really liking him because of that portrayal of Professor Hulk in the actual movies, but don't realize the movies didn't do the best job at portraying the Professor Hulk. Yeah, it is Banner and the Hulk merged together, but the movies made it feel like more of a Banner murdering the Hulk and just taking over the Hulk's body, where it seemed very little any traces of the Hulk even left in his personality. While it is true to some degree Banner and Hulk are together in the comic books, this wasn't the best portrayal considering the fact Professor Hulk still has edginess, anger, and gets annoyed about things similar to how the Hulk does, but he's just a lot smarter than before. And believe it or not, Professor Hulk actually has a higher base strength. When I say base, I'm talking about relaxed and calm strength than the Savage Hulk himself in his Professor Hulk state, which is impressive considering how strong Savage Hulk is at base level anyway. But how strong is the Professor Hulk? Let's get into it. He has pretty impressive battle feats along with some decent inanimate object feats. Some little cool facts is the fact that Professor Hulk weighs half a ton. Just to give you an idea of how strong he is, I'm going to give you some feats that he does casually, like absolute casual feats, just to give you a level of how strong the Hulk is in general. We already know the stuff he can do is this level, but there's just some casual cool feats that are fun to go over. Professor Hulk, respect him. He's so much stronger than your average person. He can pretty much stagger you with the raw force of his breath, or his actual voice alone is enough to stagger normal humans, or at least push them back. Even as a tiny Hulk, when he's shrunken down, he does a thunderclap in the Abomination's ear and cause severe damage, showing that his level of strength is still absurd even while being shrunk. Snapping his fingers alone can cause massive, big forms of making light, bright, or sparks happen with the fingers clapping. Like what? Characters that can lift hundreds of tons are no match for him, like Venom. Like Venom is no weakling, but he's completely nothing to the Hulk. Just another occasion of him curb stomping Venom. Venom is having a very hard time. He's even spitting out blood, it seems. His scream is enough to make clothes move. Like what? Raw power of him alone without even touching you. I don't know why I'm abusing Venom like this, but another case of him abusing characters on this level. Did I mention he can easily tear through Venom's webs? Just to give you an idea, yeah, Venom's webs are ridiculously strong comparable to Spider-Man's. Surprisingly enough, a lot of people don't know this, but this was actually Professor Hulk to fight a 10 times Thor. Now, this is a little strange, I will admit, because Professor Hulk evidently has limitations to his strength increase factor, yet this did not stop him from being able to match a Thor times 10, aka a Warrior's Madness Thor. This was probably in a special occasion, and it was also stated that he was really, really mad in this comic more than normal. Spider-Man level characters like Dr. Octopus are also nothing compared to Professor Hulk. This shouldn't be really much of a surprise though. Sends him back with a flick, like nothing. Even Professor Hulk is strong enough to fight people like Hercules and slug it out with them. Hercules is the same being that has been shown to lift the heavens themselves and battle Thor enough to make the planets go out of orbit. Note to self, do not give somebody like strong as the Hulk, not even Professor Hulk, an indestructible shield like Captain America, where it's not even sharp on the tips, but he's still able to puncture Hulk-level beings with it due to the ridiculous nature of vibranium and the fact that he is a Hulk and a gamma being with this level of strength. Professor Hulk isn't by any means a weakling. He's still able to overpower characters like Abomination, beings that would be a threat to a Savage Hulk on his best days though, of course. I know it's hard to believe, but yeah, this was actually Professor Hulk that fought a Warrior's Madness Thor. Thor times 10. Imagine Thor being multiplied times 10, considering what Thor has done. That's absurd. There has been times where Professor Hulk has just busted through doors that can survive nuclear explosions, showing that he can casually put out nuclear level power casually. Stated here that he can hit with enough force to shatter a planet. Contributed to the force of raw power with Drax, showing they both can contribute to force enough to bust planets. I mean, of course he should be able to do this. I mean, the weakest forms can planet bust, like Grey Hulk, busting an asteroid 2 times the size of Earth, for example. Go check out that video on my page, by the way, about Grey Hulk. Fun fact about the Hulkbuster in comic books, there has never been an occasion ever in comic history where the Hulkbuster suits from Iron Man has actually got a actual legit KO on the Hulk, by the way. Characters like Electro are nothing to him to where he can even flick them away with his finger. Like, that's like really, he just flicked them away like a peasant. Some could say they could consider ice an elemental thing that kind of pretty much ignores durability or ignores conventional durability. But the Hulk is consistently shown, even in Professor state, to be able to break out of ice. Ice isn't enough. Being cold and freezing isn't enough elemental power to hold back the Hulk, not even Professor state. There was a time he even slugged out with a Ghost Rider. Yeah, the actual Ghost Rider. Was able to take blasts from him as well and continue fighting him as well, even as Professor Hulk state. Professor Hulk state is not a weakling and not as nice and kind-heartedly as the movies portray him to be. Getting kicked in the nuts by Ghost Rider even made him angry as Professor Hulk. Like, what? This dude isn't no weakling. You know, one of the members of the Fantastic Four, Sue Storm, one of the mightiest members of the Fantastic Four, he gets right back up from a blast from her. Seems to be out of her league too. Of course, Professor Hulk is bulletproof. I would hope so. Something cool but expected. Helicopter blades even break on his skin. And of course, not even swords can cut him either, which is expected. You remember Armageddon, the same being that defeated the Silver Surfer before? He was able to endure blasts from Armageddon, even in Professor Hulk's state, by the way. By the way, yeah, this is the same guy that Water Breaker Hulk beat up. He was able to take the same guy that did this to the Silver Surfer, even back in the day. Professor Hulk was always a beast, and Armageddon was always a beast as well, and Hulk looks even madder than ever after that blast. There was these beams made to paralyze him, but yet he was able to resist being paralyzed. As skilled as Captain America is, the gap in strength between Captain America and the Hulk is so vast, not even his vast knowledge of pressure points, on top of his super soldier skills, is enough to pretty much damage him with pressure points. The Hulk is just too durable for that. He would have to be on his level for pressure points to actually matter. One of the cool features, one of those times where the Punisher actually tried to fight him. Somebody way below his raw power level tried to throw a grenade at the Hulk. He just contained the grenade inside his hands like, this is lightweight for me. It makes me laugh when people assume that Professor Hulk is whack because of the live action movies, because even Professor Hulk has ridiculous stamina to be able to fight for days, literally. The amount of endurance he has is absurd, even in Professor Hulk's state. But you would know this based off the movie, to fight days on end inside one of these realms that Hela provided. Did I mention the fact he has some of the best healing factor feats, even though in Professor Hulk's state, he was able to get most of his pretty much skin removed. Despite all of this, despite all this pain, he was able to push through, stay conscious, even pushed him back, overpowered him in the process, knocking him back. On top of this, he literally regenerates on panel and is fine right after. The level of regeneration and power this has to take. Oh, did I mention he's immune to actual AIDS? Havoc is one of those beings that, due to hacks and being able to use his own energy against the Hulk, is one of those people that's a formidable foe for the Hulk. Despite this, he's consistently shown to be able to endure multiple attacks from him, even though he's gamma powered. Probably one of the most absurd feats of endurance and toughness. Like, seriously, Havoc has a hacks ability, be able to use the Hulk's own energy against him. But yet, this is not a guaranteed win, even against Havoc. But a disclaimer, though, I will admit that Havoc has a couple wins on the actual Hulk himself, though. Hulk can still resist him to some degree. And more than likely, if they were to fight again recently, he would definitely resist him based on his resistant feats to be able to take energy being used against him nowadays, being a lot better than the past. Darwin from the War of Hulk arc tried to drain him of his energy and use it against him, but it didn't work. One of the most impressive times is where he didn't actually move. Like, has anybody ever paid attention to this? Like, when he got hit by the Hulkbuster one time in one of their few very first encounters, he actually didn't move out of his spot this very first encounter. I don't think people realize this. Like, he actually got hit by the Hulkbuster right here and he didn't move. Just completely no-sells it. But evidently the Hulkbuster hit harder next time because he moved a lot more. But the Hulk doesn't seem impressed still. He has even been seen to be able to kind of like move like with a blur effect. Completely speed blitzes and destroys some giant robots before they can really do anything much. Of course, yeah, he can fight the powerhouse, underrated powerhouse known as Wonder Man, as I showed in the Wonder Man, How Strong is Wonder Man video. He's strong enough to fight on par with these beings, even in the Professor Hulk state. There's a time he was able to tag Silver Surfer while he was in the middle of a blitz with a rock. The level of speed and accuracy to be able to intercept his blow is absurd to do this. Now, be honest, don't lie. When you're this strong, you usually tend to overthrow stuff, and you would think somebody being this strong wouldn't be this accurate. Look at the bulky nature, but the fact that he is this big, but he's still this accurate is pretty cool to look at. Yeah, he's this big, but yet this accurate. Something fun and cool that the Professor Hulk can do. Why is the Hulk extra fresh in this issue, by the way? He's been shown to be able to dodge attacks too. He just doesn't tank everything, even though he can tank most things, but when he decides to, he can use his speed and combat knowledge and dodge things. Evidently, the Hulk has some pretty cool senses to the point where he can rival cosmic character awareness. Like, he has his own senses of his own. There was a missile that took off. He was actually able to outspeed the actual missile. Another powerhouse being that we don't see that much, he was actually able to destroy Ironclad. Like, he really messed him up bad. Even put him in an arm lock and everything, put him on the ground, pinned him, chokes him out, and shows that even Professor Hulk does indeed have anger problems. He does have edge to him and savageness to him, something the movie should have portrayed better. Now, when you analyze this feat, this is where it really shows his strength increase factor, even in Professor Hulk's state. As you all know, he got severely hurt by this blast right here, showing that his strength did increase during the rematch. He actually got in a rematch with this guy. They got in a slugfest, and it was tough. Of course, it healed, of course. But when they got a rematch, this same being that hurt him severely before starts to get overwhelmed by the Hulk's power, to the point he even has better reaction time, and even to the point he shoots the Hulk again with this beam, but it doesn't even seem to penetrate him this time, showing that he's a lot stronger and durable than the last time they fought before. Everything about him seems sharper. His combat speed, reflexes, reaction, durability itself, and his regenerative properties, showing that, yeah, he does have a strength increase factor, even in Professor Hulk's state, so don't count him out. There was this time Professor Hulk even got so mad he was able to break out of mind control, and in the process of breaking out of this mind control, of course, he was fighting Juggernaut to the point. The same Juggernaut we've seen in the past fight World War Hulk, of course, holding back, but still impressive as heck. Professor Hulk actually was able to KO the Juggernaut one time due to getting this massive rage boost of him breaking out of the mind control and breaking out of the frustration at the same time. One of the many occasions of him resisting mind control and being able to break free, of course. The fun thing about Professor Hulk is that Professor Hulk doesn't have the most flashy feats when it comes to busting stuff, but due to the fact he is the same guy as Great Hulk, we can assume he can hit with that hard as well and a lot greater. And the feats kind of prove it battle-wise too. He was able to fight a Thor times 10, was able to overpower a being that eventually was hurting him woundedly really badly to the point where his anger increase factor made him out of that dude's league as well. He eats a punch that could have dent titanium, by the way. Professor Hulk is actually pretty impressive, and if the movies did anything like this in the actual movies, this would have been a lot more fun to see on the big screen. And the fact that he still got edge to him, but he's still smart. The movies really had a missed opportunity here, and yet he does have a strength increase factor, and he does have rage out points, like with his fight with the Juggernaut, the fact he was able to curb stop Ironclad, and the fact he was able to fight Thor times 10. He can still fight characters like Hercules, even in the Professor Hulk state, despite them having ridiculous feats like throwing planets out of orbit, lifting Midgard serpents, and Hercules lifting the heavens themselves and rotating the Earth's orbit and rotation or planet's rotation. Despite all of this, he's still able to fight these beings, and the fact he's able to fight Thor times 10 is absurd. Oh, did I mention he was able to fight Thor times 10? Oh, yeah. Did I mention he's able to fight Thor times 10? Yeah, I want you guys to let that sink in right quick. This is the Hulk that did that. Like, this is not even nowhere near the strongest Hulk anger levels, and even this Hulk was able to do this. You should respect him by then, even if he doesn't have the most flashy feats when it comes to, punching space-time continuums and blah, 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 blah. But due to the fact that he is confirmed to have a higher base level than Savage Hulk, let's not forget that even the weaker Hulk personalities can still overpower characters like freaking Wonder Man. And by the way, I wasn't lying when I said he KO'd Juggernaut. Yeah, in Professor Hulk freaking state. Like, what? Somebody that slugged it out with World War Hulk holding back. Did I mention the fact that there has been times where Professor Hulk, that's right, even the Hulk has shown or had feats of him holding back against Thor himself. That's right. Shocking, right? Did I mention that Professor Hulk even has a pretty cool sense of humor? Acting like he's struggling lifting bags? You remember classic Drax that everybody does respect? Professor Hulk has actually gotten into slugfest with actual classic Drax himself, able to trade blows with him and even overpower him to some degree. Yeah, that's right. Professor Hulk is this strong to be able to fight classic Drax. Oh yeah, by the way, I wasn't lying about Professor Hulk being actually stronger than Savage Hulk in his base levels. So just imagine what Professor Hulk can do considering what has Savage done in the past. More proof of this is the time where there was Savage Hulk fighting this being called Man-Thing, Marvel's Swamp Thing or whatever. But Professor Hulk was actually able to overpower this same being. So by now, you should know that Professor Hulk is a beast. The movies didn't portray him right. He is a really crazy powerhouse, stronger than base Savage Hulk. But Savage Hulk more than likely has the greatest strength increase factor. But that doesn't mean Professor Hulk's strength increase factor is trash either. The fact Professor Hulk is the Hulk to actually be the one to fight Thor times 10, something a lot of people don't know. The fact that Professor Hulk was able to curb stomp a being that actually was curb stomping him at first, but he got angry enough to the point where he started curb stomping him back. And to the point he got so durable, the lasers didn't even penetrate him back. He's consistently shown to be able to fight God of Strength level characters like Thor, and there was even a time he held back against Thor as the scan I provided earlier, and the fact he actually fought Hercules on a consistent basis in this state. He actually took an L against Juggernaut, but he got a rematch against Juggernaut and was able to KO him with a big burst of anger, showing he does have a pretty decent strength increase factor, even though it does have its limitations. So Professor Hulk is nothing to be played with. But what do you guys think? Do you think the MCU should have portrayed Professor Hulk like this? Is there any feats I mentioned? How do you like his regeneration in Professor Hulk's state? Did you know he can regenerate this good? I bet you all didn't know that. But make sure you post some comments down below and let me know what you all think about Professor Hulk. Did you know he was this strong? Did the MCU do a terrible job at portraying him? Do you think they should have showed more of his edginess in the movies? I think they should have showed more of his edginess in the movies, but that could be just me wanting the Hulk to get love. And I also feel like it was a wasted opportunity in the movies. Professor Hulk is one of the coolest personalities, but in the movies it really didn't show that. It just basically showed like that version of Banner body taking over the Hulk. I didn't want to see a giant Banner. I wanted to see a giant merged Hulk, Professor Hulk, the real Hulk, Banner and Hulk put together, merged Hulk personality in the live action movies, but I guess that'll never happen. But what do you guys think? Post comments down below. Let me know what you all think. Do you think we'll see Professor Hulk again in the Immortal Hulk series? I think it's a possibility, but who knows? Post them.